What's up, wrestling fans? It's your boy E here on the mic with all your wrestling factoids, your one-stop shop for all your wrestling news. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today lined up. We have our Monday Night Raw review. We're going to talk a little bit about WWE NXT preview. It's spring break-in week 2. We're going to, kind of lead into segment 3. We're going to talk about our the historic WWE tag team breakups that ultimately kind of failed. Like, let's just be blunt. Let's just be absolutely honest with each other and be like, yeah, that was bad. That was bad. And to cap it all off, fourth segment, we're going to talk about WWE introducing a new women's title, the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Well, not really. I'm basically, I'm going to give you guys like the reasons why I feel like they should have a women's intercontinental championship or something like equivalent to it, just so it like I don't know, we have the do's and the don'ts and all that kind of stuff. But before we do anything else, before we go on and talk about anything in terms of wrestling, I want to remind you guys that we get a number of questions that come in during the show from viewers like you. So to ensure that your question gets read on air, I ask you guys to use the tips and donations link at the gsmcpodcast.net with your questions. Let's put your questions up on top so I can see it. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. This episode's chock full with a lot of opinionated statements. So, of course, also objective as well. So make sure I want to hear you guys. I want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear, I know I'm the host, and I know the GSMC Podcast Network owns the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast, and I'm the host. But ultimately, you guys own the podcast. The audience has the power. I am nothing without you guys. So it'd be awesome to hear you guys' feedback. Once again, the link is at the GSMC podcast.net. So all right, let's go ahead and move on to our first segment. We're going to go ahead and jump right into it. We have our WWE Monday Night Raw review. The last draft night 2, there was 6 rounds. And I guess there was also some draft picks that were drafted after Raw went off the air, like that, Jack. But, it was pretty cool. So Raw absolutely started off with a huge bang. Logan Paul was seen, the megastar was seen with the Super Bowl MVP, Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. Yesterday on Monday Night Raw, they were in Kansas City. So, seeing him there was a bit of a shocker, but at the same time, I was like, you know what? Wrestling is like so big and it's such a fandom and it's such a conglomerate that, I'm not too surprised that I saw Patty Mahomes there. But, who, I'm not a Chiefs fan. I'm not a Chiefs fan. I respect a dynasty, and I think the Chiefs are kind of heading toward that in terms of like Andy Reid is killing it from head coach. This is a football podcast, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I'm just going to say that the Kansas City Chiefs, they're a good team. They're a great team. They did it last year without any star wide receivers, able to win the big one. A lot of people doubted them when they had kind of like a mediocre like record where they lost. I believe they lost didn't they lose against the Jets? No, I think the Jets almost beat them. I think on Sunday Night Football. Don't quote me on that. But ultimately, it was cool to see Patrick Mahomes there. Absolutely awesome when you see the NFL and WWE kind of mesh. Super cool. Want to see something like that again. So, so Logan Paul was seen with the Judgment Day as well as Patrick Mahomes. Logan Paul told Damian Priest that Monday Night Raw is ran by the Judgment Day. And honestly, it's true. It's 1,010% true that right now the Judgment Day is kind of over. Well, not like over, not yet, but they're kind of like they're kind of on the tippity top of the totem pole. They set the standard. Finn Balor, JD McDonough, Dirty Dom, Rhea Ripley before she got injured, and Damian Priest, the WWE World's Heavyweight Champion. So the show started off pretty good. I thought it started off really, really good. You had Michael Cole and Pat McAfee kind of, talking up the mic, kind of freestyling it. And honestly, I kind of want to mention something. Michael Cole seemed like he was a little squirrely today. It seemed like he was like he kind of assumed that role as like an NFL, Major League Baseball, or like a, kind of like a basketball announcer in terms of the playoffs or the draft. So good for him. Good for him. And I believe I want to say that it's because of his partner Pat McAfee, obviously the host of the Pat McAfee Show, a popular podcast. You guys should check it out. It's pretty dope. But I don't know. I feel like he kind of helped him. Like I think before they went on air, he was like, "Michael, this is what you got to do. You just gotta loosen up, man. You just gotta loosen up. You need to just let the crowd just feed into it, like use their momentum and just create words and just actions that make the crowd feel like they're into it, because I feel like that's like the whole reason why Michael Cole kind of seemed a little squirrely today, because I was like, oh my god, usually Michael Cole's not really like that. He's usually not really like that, like outspoken, that like he's enthusiastic, of course, but it was like a different type of enthusiasm tonight. So honestly, I credit Pat McAfee for getting him out of his comfort zone. So good for him. Absolutely. And then the man Becky Lynch came out and she said this was where the man was born, in Kansas City, Missouri. And of course, who comes out when the world women's champion is out? Of course, it's Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan comes out hungry and just ready as ever. I love Liv Morgan. But she issued a challenge to Becky Lynch, and then Nia Jax came out. It was just, one of those things where I was like, all right, she came out, and she came out. All right, let's try to consolidate it all together and find out what we really want here. So I honestly kind of thought it was kind of heading toward maybe like a triple threat match for the WWE World Women's Championship, which I've mentioned before in past podcasts that triple threat matches are kind of like the way, like an easy way out for the champion to kind of weasel their way and get the dub. But ultimately, Liv Morgan and Nia Jax ended up fighting. So we'll get into that a little later. So. Nia Jax wanted to make her presence known her last night on Raw. And yeah, and then the draft started. Stephanie McMahon came out, which is, it was cool. It was cool to see Steph come out. Obviously, Paul Levesque's wife, the daughter of Vince McMahon. But right now, I feel like WWE and TKO promotions they're done with Vince McMahon. I think they're done with Nick Khan too, because Nick Khan, sold all of his stocks in TKO as well. So, definitely might be something coagulating there. Maybe. I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but let's. I'm just kidding. No. But ultimately, I thought it was cool to see Steph out there, representing the company, that her father built, but kind of tore down based on his lackluster creative, like when he was in charge of it all. But, I'm not trying to dog anybody here. Not trying to dog anybody here. What's our philosophy at the GSMC Sports Network? Peace, love, and positivity. So let's just stick to the show. So then the draft started. Raw drafted Gunther, also drafted Damage Control, and I thought it was pretty cool how they drafted Damage Control. I knew eventually that they were going to keep Damage Control away from Bailey, so that Dakota Kai, Io Sky, Asuka, and Kairi Sane will most likely kick it. I feel like they're going to kick out Dakota Kai, and I think eventually Asuka is going to jump into that singles wrestler mode in the women's division, and then ultimately you're going to see Kairi Sane and Io Sky like kind of be the new Kabuki Warriors, which it's not bad. I'm not trying to say that Io Sky's not big enough to jump right back into the WWE Women's main card. I'm not trying to say that at all. When she was a champion, she was dominant. She was entertaining as hell. And she just knew how to be a champion. She knew how to, tease the crowd. She knew how to post on social media. I remember she posted on Twitter and she did a whole bunch of live feeds and stuff like that. She just kept the crowd very engaged. That's definitely something about Io Sky that I absolutely respect. So, of course, kudos to that. That's awesome. Next, SmackDown drafted. Of course, we saw this coming. A storm is coming. Jade Cargill is drafted to WWE SmackDown. Not much of honestly, I don't feel like that's much of a surprise, despite the fact. I kind of wish that, I don't want to say she wasn't, because I don't want to see her and Bianca Belair have a WWE Women's Tag Team title run. And I know I might be, I know people, I know you guys out there probably disagree with me on this, but these are two top singles wrestlers. They don't belong in the WWE Women's Tag Team title talk. Of course, if they did, they would kick ass and dominate, but no one wants to see that. For me, I know I don't want to see that. But like I said, I am a wrestling fan of its own kind. And I would rather see these two physical specimens, these two amazing women, these amazing wrestlers, these amazing personalities just go at it and just build something toward SummerSlam, build something toward WrestleMania, build something other than a WWE World Women's title reign. But, who knows? Maybe they'll make it prestigious. Maybe they'll, kind of have that storyline where they're together, when they win the championship ultimately, and in the end, they end up losing it, causing them to kind of feud, go at each other, nitpick at each other, ultimately like having disagreeing sides, causing a feud, which leads into WrestleMania or something like that. That would be pretty cool. That if that's the case, then I'm for it. All right, so SmackDown also drafted Kevin Owens, which was nice. It was, I think, Kevin Owens was one of the draft picks in my mock draft that I actually picked correct. So hey, yeah, Eric did something right. What's up? What's up? What's up? Like that. I don't know. I just feel like Kevin Owens belongs on the show. He's not going to go anywhere that the bloodline's not going to be. I feel like that's like a home run rivalry right there. Kevin Owens is so outspoken. He's so passionate. And now he's teaming with Randy Orton. And like I said, we'll get into that a little later. Like I said, and then we're going to go on with the draft. We had Raw drafting CM Punk, and Braun Strowman, the monster among men, is back on the WWE Raw roster. He didn't come out anything like Uncle Howdy or anything like that, so I'm wondering if like maybe that Uncle Howdy's going to make his return with a couple of stablemates, and then eventually maybe they'll try to pursue or try to convince Braun to join their stable. Perhaps that's where they're going with it. And SmackDown drafted the Pride, which consisted of Bobby Lashley, the Street Profits, and BFAB, KFAB. No, I don't know. Sorry if I butchered that. If you're watching this KFAB or BFAB, I'm sorry. But this just shows, honestly, this shows that the Street Profits will probably, in the end, dethrone the SmackDown tag team. Well, no, they're not that anymore. I think they're the WWE tag team title owners, the A-Town Down Under. And honestly, I can't wait to see that happen. And I'm not trying to be mean. I like Grayson Waller. I like Austin Theory. I think that they're like United States Intercontinental like level right here. But to be honest, I feel like they're not a tag team. They're not a tag team. When they won the belts at WrestleMania in that ladder match, which it was a great ladder match, but ultimately I don't like it. I don't like it. No me gusta. Este no me gusta, man. No me gusta. I'd rather see them as singles wrestlers fighting, and I think you should leave the tag team division being in the tag team division. The Street Profits deserve another chance. The last time they lost their titles, it was against I I want to say it was against the Usos. No, they tried to fight the Usos for the tag team titles and they came up short. But I think before then they lost it to Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode. Don't quote me on that. But that's just so old. They need a new title run. I'm just saying. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. So then Raw went on to pick, and you had the APA come out, which was pretty cool. John Bradshaw Layfield and Farouk Ron Simmons. And then you saw them draft the LWO and Drew McIntyre. Pretty cool for Raw. And for SmackDown, they drafted Legado del Fantasma and Shinsuke Nakamura, which is good for SmackDown. Shinsuke Nakamura, I believe, deserves a second chance. I know, like, as soon as he came out from WWE NXT, he was a little over with the crowd, fought against AJ Styles at that WrestleMania, low blowed him. Uh, kind of a bad move for WWE creative to kind of have Shinsuke kind of go heel in that moment. But, at the same time, maybe it was a different time back in the day. Like I wasn't in the war room talking about, in terms of the NFL draft. I'm not in the conference room talking in terms of Vince McMahon and the, creative officers and stuff like that. But right now, Paul Levesque has control, and I feel like he's going to do right by Shinsuke Nakamura and probably put him in a title match or the title picture in terms of the United States Championship. So, Logan Paul, watch out, bro. All right, next we're moving on. So then Raw has another round. We have the Judgment Day. Obviously, we all knew that the Judgment Day, full of blood, bound for glory. Obviously, was going to wind up back on the red brand. Then you also have, of course, I knew this was another pick that I picked right. Both of those picks I picked right. We had Ilya Dragunov, and honestly, I liked it. I liked a lot how WWE NXT, all the superstars were kind of sit down. They were lined up. Ultimately, they've kind of made it seem and kind of made it fixtured that the WWE NXT is kind of like the draft pool, kind of like a Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, Drake May, and Marvin Harrison Jr. They kind of made it seem like that because everybody was all hugging and it was cool. Kayfabe was totally out the window. You saw Trick Williams clap for his opponent Ilya Dragunov. So I liked it, but at the same time, I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. I thought there was nothing wrong with that. Absolutely dope. Sometimes it's cool to see wrestlers kind of, break out of character and kind of just support their fellow man. All right. So, also, you saw Naomi be drafted to SmackDown, which figures because they're trying to build up that Naomi and Bailey and Tiffany Stratton match at Backlash. And then you also saw Chelsea Green and Piper Niven get drafted to WWE SmackDown, which was surprising. Adam Pearce was probably the most ecstatic I've ever seen him been. And it's I thought they were going to make their way back to NXT, but honestly, I feel like this is a good move. This is a good move. Chelsea Green has kind of wore out her welcome in terms of WWE Raw. But then again, Jade Cargill is on SmackDown roster, so I don't know what they're planning to do with that tag team. But I hope ultimately they do whatever it takes to kind of just let the world see their abilities, as wrestlers, kind of just as performers, as entertainers, and just I don't know, just do right by your talent, bro. That's all you can do. And another thing that I kind of wanted to touch on was that so WWE has a draft chime, which is kind of like the NFL, the dun 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 dun, and that means your picks are in. So honestly, I thought that was kind of crazy. I'm kind of running out of time here, so kind of run through it. So Gunther, defeated Xavier Woods tonight. He made Woods tap out. Also, Logan Paul interrupted Jey Uso. Pat Mahomes gave him Super Bowl rings to try to push him and take him out. He mistakenly hit JD McDonough Judgment Day, so I thought that was pretty funny. One quick thing, we're gonna talk about Braun Strowman being drafted. Absolutely, 110%. He's probably the last big man of the generation in terms of the Paul Levesque era, meaning the Vince McMahon era. So obviously they have some pretty big things planned for Braun Strowman, which is good. The Braun Strowman has been within the WWE for so very long. He's paid his dues. He's worked his arse off. So 110% he should be given absolute compensation for just his time in WWE through all the bullshit and just through everything. So I'm happy that they kept Braun. Next up, we're gonna Braun Strowman versus Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn was seen taking out Chad Gable for his Intercontinental Championship match, and then Chad Gable came in and interrupted their match, causing Bronson Reed to get pissed and take out both superstars. So I thought that was pretty cool. Um, then you see CM Punk confront Drew McIntyre, and it was crazy because he said, obviously, I think CM Punk is a step above everybody else on the Raw roster in terms of preparing for Netflix, where WWE doesn't have to be so PG. Obviously, he's using cuss words and he's tormenting Drew McIntyre, and we even got a by Ron Simmons, which was absolutely astronomical. It was definitely one of the highlights of my night. Used to love seeing Ron Simmons, Farouk go out there and just say, I don't know. I just thought it was pretty cool. I'm sorry for her ears if you guys are listening to this on audio. I apologize, but I just get so excited with the dams. Next, we have Alpha Academy. Maxine Dupree was excited that she eliminated some people in the Battle Royal last Monday night for the WWE World Women's Championship. And then Chad Gable was like, "What are you trying to do, man? What are you doing? Are you trying to celebrate mediocrity? Like, what are you doing?" Like, Chad Gable, like, what are you doing, man? Like, I love Chad Gable, and I think any kind of role he's in right now, I think it's good. But I don't know, it was kind of crazy. Absolutely. And the only reason why Maxine Dupree lost against Candice LeRae was because Indy Hartwell attacked Ivy Nile on the side of the apron and just totally messed everything up. Definitely, those are bad girls, man. Then we have the LWO Civil War. So since the LWO was drafted to the WWE Raw, ultimately Carlito was involved in that package. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do in terms of the Carlito Dragon Lee situation, what Ray wants to do in terms of his group in disarray. And then, of course, then you kind of saw Legado del Fantasma's leader Santos Escobar come out, and you know he's just such an antagonist. He's such a jerk. And then Dirty Dom, just to put the sprinkles on top of the cupcake, Dirty Dom came out and tried tormenting his dad, and his dad mentioned something that was pretty badass. And something that's gonna, something pretty cool that was kind of like on the low radar, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, did he just say that? Did he just say that?" He's like, he called Dirty Dom's mustache a Dirty Sanchez. If you know, you know. If you don't know, look it up on YouTube. It's not it's not my position as a podcast host to teach you what a Dirty Sanchez is. But, moving on from that. So I thought that was actually pretty darn funny. Then you had the match with Nia Jax and Liv Morgan. Nia Jax was impressive throughout the whole entire matchup. Liv Morgan botched 2 moves. Classic Liv. That's kind of I love Liv Morgan. I'm not a Liv Morgan hater. And I know with Nia Jax, she's kind of like a bigger like personnel. But dude, you gotta hit your moves, man. You gotta hit your spots. If you don't, you're gonna injure yourself, someone else, or just produce bad TV. And I feel like Liv Morgan, I feel like that's the reason why probably WWE Creative is kind of holding off on like Liv, like, you're going to get a title shot, but let's just give you some more time in the ring. Like, you know what I mean? So then Tiffany Stratton and Naomi they were attacking each other, kind of brawled out on the outside. Then you kind of saw Devon Dudley and Bully Ray come out where they drafted the New Day on Raw. Also Lyra Valkyria, and then SmackDown drafted Pretty Deadly and Candice LeRae and Hartwell. So I thought that was pretty cool. So their last round, it was pretty cool. You saw Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce come out. Raw drafted The Final Testament and Bronson Reed, while SmackDown drafted DIY and Blair Davenport, which was actually pretty surprising. Good for Blair Davenport. But then run out of time. Sorry. Awesome Truth fought Alpha Academy. Alpha Academy lost. Chad Gable was not happy. Liv Morgan and Becky Lynch had a face-off for the future. And then you had that 6-man tag team match, which basically just aided to the point that the Judgment Day are in turmoil week after week after week, just miscommunications. Pretty soon, the bomb's going to explode and ultimately lead to the Judgment Day's demise. But, so that was my WWE Raw review. Took a little longer than expected, like a lot longer than expected. So, stay tuned. We're going to talk about our WWE NXT Spring Breakin' Week 2 preview. So, don't go anywhere.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right. Welcome back to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Just kind of reflect on what we talked about. A segment when we talked about our WWE Raw review. We also talked about night 2 of the WWE Draft. Next, we're going to jump into WWE NXT Spring Breakin' Week 2. Going to be pretty awesome. So let's get on into it. So it's been confirmed that the new WWE NXT champion, Trick Williams, will make his debut as champion. I don't think he's gonna fight anybody, honestly, but Trick Williams, you can't really put your finger on him. He's a loose cannon, but ultimately for the best part, so it's gonna be interesting to see his promo and stuff like that. But before we jump into it, before I know I jumped the gun, and I'm completely sorry, you guys, but I'm gonna have to interrupt this and talk about the tips and donations link. I want to hear you guys talk. I want to, we have to mention this so, you guys feel comfortable to talk to your boy over here. Like, don't just leave me all by myself. I'm just kidding. So we get a number of questions from viewers like you that come in during the show. So to ensure that your question gets read on air, I ask you guys to use the tips and donations link at the gsmcpodcast.net with your questions. Just put your questions up on top so I can see it. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. Tell me what you want to talk about as an audience in terms of wrestling. Give me your opinions. Maybe think of it. Give me a couple of, shots. Give me a couple of choices. Give me a couple of recommendations in terms of like segment ideas that you guys want to hear, that you guys want to talk about. So definitely, guys, remember, just positive. Peace, love, and positivity really helps the show. Give us a positive review. Again, the link is the gsmcpodcast.net. All right. So, make sure y'all do that and love the peace, love, and positivity that you guys want to show me. But ultimately, it's time to move on. What is going on? There we go. So we're NXT preview. Like I said, Trick Williams is going to make his way. Also, we have Tyson DuPont and Tyreek Igwe set to make their WWE NXT debut against the OC, which is Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows tonight. Also, Thea Hale finally gets her hands on JC Jane. JC Jane kind of pulled Thea Hale away from the university and, not for the better part, but ultimately, it was kind of like a form of manipulation that JC Jane kind of had over Thea Hale, kind of took advantage of her, kind of preyed on the weak, the vulnerable kind of thing. And it's time for JC Jane to get, some payback. She has it coming. So and then also we have we're just gonna talk about just kind of hit a little bit about just some of the people that were drafted from NXT. They were kind of shown in terms of like conversations and stuff like that, in terms of like just I don't know, just about everything. So like I said, you saw Ilya Dragunov kind of go in the first round. He seemed pretty excited, and also you kind of have Lyra Valkyrie, who got drafted to WWE Raw. She's going to make a huge impact over there. She's going to actually completely kill it. She was 165 days into her title run, and she also beat the man Becky Lynch. So her coming to WWE Raw is not just like your average, ordinary. What is her Becky Lynch's book? Your average girl, but it's going to be pretty badass. Next, you saw Blair Davenport was, she was also drafted to WWE Raw. Super excited. She was brought to tears, which brought me to tears. No, I'm just kidding. I wasn't crying. You were crying. But anyways, so she said she didn't really fit anywhere else in her career types. Wrestling was kind of like her thing. She was, like I said, she's very emotional, and she's ready to show SmackDown what makes her unique, why she's Blair Davenport. So, honestly, 110%. She's going to be dope. It's going to be cool as hell. Then, of course, like I said, you kind of have Dijak kind of coming into Monday Night Raw. Once again, drafted, like he represented the red brand pretty darn well in the draft. He was wearing a red shirt, had red sunglasses. He was just ready. Ready. He was red. You guys got that? Wasn't that very punny of me? I'm just kidding. No. But he's a good superstar. He's gonna do really, really well in the WWE. So I don't know. Should be pretty darn exciting to see what they decide to do with Dijak. But ultimately, I feel like he's gonna do his thing. And then now you have Kiana James. Kiana James was also drafted to WWE Raw. It looks like WWE Raw is kind of clearing out some headway just to kind of get these people started from NXT, which is kind of smart. I feel like from Paul Levesque. So ultimately, good choice. Good choice. She's going to be an amazing superstar. She's going to definitely be knocking on the door in terms of like if Liv Morgan comes out the champion at Backlash, or perhaps Becky Lynch retains the man. So, good for her. Carmelo Hayes, absolutely. I don't even really have to say much about this guy. This guy's impressive as hell. Definitely going to be he's going to be the future of the WWE. I can see him holding a main card title like the WWE Undisputed Championship or perhaps the WWE World's Heavyweight Championship. He kind of reminds me of like a young Seth Rollins where honestly, in Money to Bank, it wouldn't surprise me if this guy takes it. Wouldn't surprise me if Carmelo Hayes takes the Money in the Bank this year at the pay-per-view, but I don't know. Oh, like I said, what do I know? So, yeah. But ultimately, NXT, spring breaking going towards going to be pretty badass. It's going to be pretty cool. So Ava came out during the draft and mentioned that NXT is kind of like a family, and you kind of have to, you kind of have to, not compensate, empathize, sympathize with the situation because WWE NXT is not like WWE Raw. They're not like WWE SmackDown. These are superstars that perform at the same center together. They travel together, kind of more of like a family kind of aspect to it, where they're like coworkers. Imagine being with your favorite coworker at your job right now, and imagine they leave, they get promoted, and they just leave you, and you're like it's sad. It kind of sucks. So I thought that was kind of cool how Ava was able to level with the fans, the audience, and just people all around the world watching the WWE draft night too, and just kind of get us to feel the way they're feeling. Like, because a lot of the times we don't do that. A lot of the times we don't put ourselves in their shoes because, they're wrestlers. They're making millions of dollars. They're fine. Like, whatever. Who cares? But these guys really have a connection together. These guys are they're family. They're family. So good job for Ava to kind of do that. That are very emotional. So I thought that was pretty bad. That togetherness, absolutely pretty cool. Another thing that I kind of want to talk about real quick was that obviously we've kind of had situations where WWE NXT superstars coming up was kind of like a bad thing. So Triple H, my man, if you're watching right now, you have to make sure you don't fall into the bad way that kind of Vince McMahon handled the WWE NXT superstars. Obviously, you kind of have Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano who made it up to the main roster. They didn't really do much with them. Two talented superstars that came up, champions in their own rights. They didn't do anything with them. So make sure if you're going to bring these people up, you're bringing them up for a reason, not just to be like squash matches, not just to kind of like just pander to the crowd, or not just to kind of make these guys kind of like floaters, like, you know what I mean? And next we have Aleister Black, former WWE NXT World Champion. Another kind of failed thing that WWE Creative failed this guy. He was so great. He made it onto the Raw roster. Everybody was so excited, but he didn't really make it to just anything, man. It's kind of sad. Once again, we're going to talk about Shayna Baszler. Love talking about Shayna Baszler. Very talented. One of my favorite WWE women's wrestlers. But WWE also failed her too. I don't know who was in charge of creative, but definitely another example of WWE NXT stars that make it up to the big times, and they don't really know what the hell to do with them. So ultimately, Paul Levesque knows what he's doing. Ultimately, he has a plan. Ultimately, he has like storylines and potential promotions. So, yeah. Next, we have Indy Hartwell. Indy Hartwell came straight up out of the WWE NXT as the WWE Women's NXT Champion. Made it to the main brand, and much like everybody else, they didn't do crap with her. They kind of just kept her floating. Yeah, you can win a couple matches on the main card, but ultimately we want you to lose against people like Nia Jax. We want you to lose against people like Becky Lynch. We want you to lose against people like Charlotte Flair. Like just totally just like them before they can even make a name for themselves. You just bury them. Bury them. And that's kind of been the reason why NXT stars, when they get drafted, I feel like they're kind of like a little scared and they're like, oh crap. Like, is this gonna happen to me? But also Ember Moon. I love Ember Moon. Now she's on Ring of Honor, the best Ring of Honor world champion, world women's champion in the world in history. Good for her. Love that. Athena, she's my girl, man. She's an amazing wrestler. Hopefully she makes it back to the WWE. Next, we're going to talk about Andrade. Andrade was really hot coming out of the WWE NXT roster. He was a WWE NXT World Champion, but ultimately he made it onto the main roster. It didn't really happen for him, not at all. They didn't even give him like an Intercontinental Championship run. Did he make a United States Championship run? I'm not too sure, but it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't, because back then the WWE didn't know what the hell they were doing. So with these NXT superstars. Next, we're going to talk about Keith Lee, of course, the man. Missing Keith Lee on the WWE. He's enlisted in the AEW roster, but I believe he's out with an injury right now. So this is just another example of why these WWE NXT stars were kind of promised glory, being drafted to Raw and SmackDown when they, obviously night 1, night 2, back in the day when they got drafted, it was like, oh my God, you got drafted, like that's so cool. And then you saw the crowd, you were in a crowd with your peers and they were crying with you. And you're like, congratulations, man, you made it to the top, you made it to the summit. Only to find out that summit was made of, just shattered rocks, fiberglass, and then you just fell off that cliff of relevancy in terms of the WWE wrestling world. So, obviously, sad to say, but here at the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast, we give you guys the truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God. So, I had, got to do your due diligence here and just warn WWE NXT superstars of what exactly you're getting into. And, all right, so moving on, we have our first ever NXT Underground women's match between Natalya and Lola Vice. Natalia's corner is going to consist of Carmen Petrovich, and also Vice's corner is going to consist of Shayna Baszler, former MMA, former UFC, bantamweight, I think it was bantamweight competitor or featherweight. So I think that's pretty cool. Also, you're going to have Rich Holland finally address his demons and fight against Sean Spears tonight. And then you also have Oba Femi against the Viking Raider Ivar for the NXT North American World Championship. Kind of like what they said, and I feel like the reason why they didn't have rosters locked until May 6th was because I think something big's going to happen here. And they said it themselves. I think it was Michael Cole. Michael Cole said it on WWE Raw that whoever wins, they take the other person's place. I can see Ivar. Maybe I want to see Ivar. Maybe I want to see Ivar become the new North American champion. And then you would see Oba Femi just inserted into the Raw roster because Ivar was drafted by WWE Raw on this past episode of Monday Night Raw. So imagine that. Imagine that you walk into Raw next week. You have a new guy in Oba Femi coming in, and it's just absolutely insane. And, it would create for some drama. Absolutely. It would create for some drama. So, I'm not trying to play spoiler. Obviously I'm not a mind reader, but it would be kind of cool to see this happen. I would love to see this happen. And then just kind of finish it off, we have our Supersonic duo. They're going to fight the AOP for the NXT World Tag Team titles. Once again, AOP, I see no reason why they made a debut to WWE NXT if they weren't going to represent the brand. So I think ultimately they're going to do the same damn thing. You're going to see Axiom and Nathan Frazier make it onto the WWE Raw roster, ultimately taking the place of AOP, which was drafted once again on Monday Night Raw on the WWE Draft Night 2. So it's not going to surprise me if that happens. Hopefully it won't surprise you guys. Hopefully I'm giving you guys all the cool factoids. But yeah. So, hey guys, don't go anywhere. We have a pretty exciting segment 3 coming up. We have failed WWE tag team breakups. These superstars broke up from their tag teams. One of them won. The other one lost. Or perhaps maybe both of them lost. Hey, stay tuned.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right. Welcome back to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Just to kind of reflect on what we talked about a little bit. We talked about our WWE Raw review. The last night of the WWE Draft was stellar, full of surprises and absolutely dynamite. Next, our segment 2, we talked about our WWE NXT Spring Breakin, which is happening as we speak. Can't wait to watch that, give you guys some live updates on YouTube. And, without further ado, we're going to talk about our failed WWE tag team breakup. So, kind of jumping on into it. It just kind of, honestly, I feel like the tag team division is for tag team competitors, and it's a great spot for them to showcase their talent. They're not necessarily on the secondary cards. Sometimes if you're like the Usos or the Shield or Edge and Christian, Hardy Boys, Dudley Boys back in the Attitude Era, maybe you can swing a main event. Maybe you could be a main carder, but mostly it was kind of like a secondary carder, like a third carder. And honestly, it's kind of crazy. And then when you see singles wrestlers kind of get together and play this tag team role, it just makes me sick. It makes me sick to my stomach, man. You should let single stars be single stars, and you should let tag team division stars be tag team competitors. So honestly, WWE for the longest time, and I hated it. Obviously, I'm speaking, from experience because I've seen this happen my whole entire life. WWE has felt obligated to break up WWE tag teams that aren't really kind of like there yet, to kind of like maybe like, oh, let's just kind of pin them against each other, which makes for good entertainment. Yeah, it does. But after that, what happens? What happens to their singles career? Like that, and I feel like that's just something they don't take in consideration. That's something they don't think about. It's like Vince is like, oh, I have an idea. Let's just break these two so we can have a nice match at SummerSlam. They're gonna fight out, in a hardcore match. And they're like, yeah, dude, but what are we gonna do with this guy after that? And he's like, I didn't think about that. It was like definitely like one of those deer in the headlight moments, like, but definitely something I feel like was definitely been an Achilles heel in terms of WWE creative. So like I said, I believe the WWE believes everybody finds more glory in singles wrestling, but that's not true. That's not true. 110%. That's not true. Kind of like what, in terms of the WWE WrestleMania 33, I kind of wanted to talk about, where you had the OC, Big Cass and Enzo Amore, who was completely over with the crowd, who deserved to be the WWE Tag Team Champions. Then all of a sudden, you saw the Hardy Boys come out. Why are the Hardy Boys here? Why is this happening? What the hell? And ultimately, like, I felt like super bad for the guys. And, it like you could have pushed the OC. You could have pushed the OC, man. You could have pushed Enzo and Big Cass, but ultimately you didn't. You didn't want to. I don't know why, but you didn't you? So honestly, I just think it's kind of crappy how they did that to some prominent stars in terms of the wrestling division. But, ultimately, I didn't think Vince McMahon kind of took that into consideration. I thought Big Cass and Enzo Amore were going to kind of like be the face of the WWE tag team. They kind of broke them up where, Big Cass came after Enzo, telling him, I am always protecting you and sticking up for you. And Enzo's like, oh, no, like, why? Dude, I thought we were one. And then he eventually made it to WWE's 205 Live, where he became their cruiserweight champion, which was stupid, but yeah, it didn't really work out. And then look, we also have the Riot Squad. The Riot Squad was broken up mainly because I think Sarah Logan got injured. I could be tripping, but they could have pushed these girls a lot more. Definitely, the Ruby Riott was so old. She was what was in with the WWE at the moment when she was there. Liv Morgan was just starting. These three girls obviously were cohesive. They were at the top of their game. And what did WWE do? They didn't really utilize them. They didn't utilize them in the right move. Kind of like that. I think that's the focal point of tonight's podcast is the failed WWE creative officials that totally blew it in the past. Next, we have the Iconics. The Iconics were great together. I don't, and after they broke up, WWE thought it was a good idea to put them on teams with other wrestlers. Why? Why does that have to be? Why does that have to happen? Why couldn't you just keep these guys on there and compete for the WWE World Women's Tag Team titles? Oh yeah, that's right. You have people like Alexa Bliss and Nikki ASH becoming champions, or like Becky and Lita. Like I don't think they were the champions when they were there, but it's just a principle. It's just a principle. You put two single stars together to rule the tag team division, and I think it was done. It was definitely done. Next, you had American Alpha. Loved American Alpha. They were kind of like the Creed Brothers 2.0. Wish this tag team would have lasted, man. Absolutely 110%. Because as soon as this tag team kind of ended, you kind of had Jason Jordan kind of tried to be pushed. Didn't really work out. Like I said before, his knee was an issue. He had a neck injury, and then they were trying to make it like he was Kurt Angle's long lost. It was just, it was a mess. It was an mess. And, obviously, I think they did American Alpha super wrong. So, yeah. And now we're Alpha Academy. Alpha Academy. Like, obviously, Chad Gable turning heel against Sami Zayn makes sense for their future in terms of the Intercontinental Championship. That's cool, man. That's cool, 1,010%. But ultimately, I feel like it's just I feel like it was a little forced. Definitely a little forced, too crazy. Absolutely. I don't think it was time just yet. But like I said, I'm a huge WWE fan. I'm not personnel. What do I know? I know everything. I'm just kidding. Definitely not. But honestly, I hope that whatever happens to American Alpha, it just makes sense. Next, we had the Dudley Boys. The Dudley Boys, they broke up, and Devon became like kind of like a pasture kind of person where he was like, oh, testify. And then eventually the two broke up and Bubba Ray Dudley found success in TNA and eventually made it back to the WWE, not on the roster, but like in Legends mode, where he's kind of featured on certain, pay-per-views, which is pretty cool because I grew up watching these guys. Absolutely love the Dudley Boys. I remember when WWE No Mercy came out on the Nintendo 64, the 3D, pretty badass, pretty awesome. Awesome. Next, we have Edge and Christian. Edge and Christian broke up. Like kind of like a Rockers, Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels. Yeah, it's cool. Like Bret and Owen Hart, the Canadians. Yeah, man, go right on ahead and do that. But ultimately, I don't know, it just didn't really make any sense. Of course, Edge got over. Christian didn't. Christian kind of had to find success elsewhere. But ultimately, I don't know. I just thought it was bad. Just thought it was bad in terms of creating a Christian, like be like, hey Christian, you having fun with your buddy Edge winning tag team titles? Oh yeah, guess what? You're on your own now. It's kind of crazy. Next we had the Bella Twins. The Bella Twins as well. They eventually kind of had a feud where they kind of feuded against each other, and ultimately kind of I don't know, it kind of sucked. It kind of sucked. Like if there was WWE World Women's Tag Team Championships back then, I felt like they would have been like a shoo-in to be tag team champions. The crowd would have loved it. Absolutely. But ultimately, the WWE creative was like, all right, let's just break these two people up. Like, who cares? Like, the fans don't care that much. But obviously we do. Obviously we do, if I still remember that. Ultimately, it'd be kind of cool. Imagine having them together. They would still probably be in the WWE today. Just saying. Also, we have Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose. Like I said, if they really contended for the WWE World Women's Championship, it would be a different story. But ultimately, they kind of pinned them against each other. Where I think Sonya Deville was trying to cut Mandy Rose's hair off or something like that, and it was just nonsense. It was just stupid. Absolutely absolutely stupid. But obviously, I'm not a WWE official, so what do I know? What do I know? But ultimately, kind of like what I was thinking about mostly was Heavy Machinery. Heavy Machinery. When Heavy Machinery made it from NXT, kind of like another example of why WWE NXT isn't really huge people or like isn't real. Well, no, they're amazing superstars. But as soon as they make it into the main card, they don't really know how to take care of them. Like WWE creatives, like okay, these guys are here, cool. But I don't know. It just blows my mind to see the journey of Otis. Watch this. So Otis wins the Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank in 2020. Why? A lot of people said it was an accident and it fell into his hands. And honestly, I believe that. I believe that. At this point, I'm kind of hoping that's what happened because that would make me believe that WWE is not so stupid after all. Back in the day, back in the day. But I don't know. I thought it was kind of crazy. So it was the Money in the Bank 2020 match against you had AJ Styles, Otis, Baron Corbin, Daniel Bryan, I already said Baron Corbin, Aleister Black, and Rey Mysterio. And it just didn't really make sense to me. Like, Otis qualified in that match. But earlier in that pay per view, you had R-Truth fighting Bobby Lashley. Why? Why wasn't Bobby Lashley in a match? Why couldn't Bobby Lashley be the Money in the Bank winner for the first time in his career? It would have been awesome. It would have been sick. It would have been better storyline than this whole Otis thing. Also, we had Cesaro losing against Jeff Hardy. Cesaro was definitely like a fan favorite. He was one of my favorites. He was the tag team champion with the Bar Sheamus. And why didn't you put him in the match? Why wasn't he in the 2020 Money in the Bank match at the WWE headquarters? Just made no sense whatsoever. Absolutely trash. Absolutely terrible. And of course, thus Tucker, turning on his friend Otis, and you had causing him to lose his Money in the Bank match at the Hell in a Cell, his Money in the Bank briefcase with The Miz. So ultimately, kind of sucked for Otis. I feel for Otis. I think out of all the, because Otis kind of got it doubled there. Like he was an NXT star that was failed. He was also a tag team star that was failed. Lost. Was forced to kind of lose weight with his tag team partner. Well, guys, we are so much out of time. But let's try just kind of hit on this as soon as we can. So we have the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship. I believe this is a championship that WWE should do. But hey, don't go anywhere.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right. Welcome back to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Just kind of reflect on what we talked about. We had our WWE Raw review, our WWE NXT Spring Breakin Week 2 preview, and we talked about WWE tag teams that broke up. Ultimately, the storylines were failed. The promotion was failed. Everything failed. Everything failed. Everything with the crap. Bull spit. So, let's move on. We have our WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship being unveiled. And ultimately, I think it's something that WWE should do 1,010%. So let's go ahead and talk about this while I still got time. We might have to go into overtime here. What is Chris Berman saying, NFL? Overtime. No, I'm just kidding. So that was a bad boomer voice. I apologize. So I feel like if WWE created a women's intercontinental championship title, it would give WWE women's division more flexibility for their bookings, their storylines, as well as opportunities for other superstars, young superstars coming up in WWE NXT to kind of find a way to not be, of course, the WWE World and the WWE title women's division is like the mecca, but I don't think it would hurt to have an intercontinental champion. I really honestly don't. Honestly, there's no really equivalence in terms of the United States and the men's Intercontinental Championship. Just think about it. In NXT, you have the Women's North American Championship kicking off. They're going to start the tournament pretty soon. You have AEW's TBS Championship, which is, held by Willow of Nightingale. And then you have Ring of Honor Women's World TV Championship. And you have New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Women's Championship. All of it pretty darn cool. It would be awesome. It'd be absolutely insane if Paul Levesque comes out for the Queen of the Ring and say, whoever wins this match, whoever wins this tournament, whoever wins this prestigious Queen of the Ring will be crowned the inaugural Intercontinental Women's World Heavyweight Championship. That would be pretty darn awesome. And I kind of have some terms for that. If the champion, the Intercontinental Champion, the Women's Intercontinental Champion, holds the title for more than 100 days, they get a title shot against the WWE Women's Champion or the WWE World's Heavyweight Women's Champion. If the champion defeats champion, the titles aren't unified. The titles will not be unified. The titles will still be separate entities, but the former Intercontinental Champion will be the WWE Women's Champion, and the former Women's Champion will be demoted all the way down. But the following night, there will be an Women's Intercontinental Championship gauntlet match where you will feature 6 superstars, and the 6th superstar that comes in is the former WWE Women's Champion or WWE World's Heavyweight Women's Champion. I think that would be that'd be pretty darn cool. And like the WWE Women's World Tag Team titles, it's going to be defended on both shows. Absolutely, 100%. I think that would be dynamite. WWE, if you're willing to hire me, I'm out of college in a couple of weeks. So, no, but I think that would be pretty cool. Honestly, I think that would open up a lot of, possibilities for just the women, because the women, they deserve it. They deserve it. I also I checked out some alternative women's Intercontinental Championship names. We can call it the Featherweight Championship, and as respect to their partners in Endeavor and the UFC, the Universal Championship, bring it back, but for the girls, the Supreme Championship and the Global Championship. Get a little crazy, definitely a little crazy, a little far fetched, but ultimately, I don't know. I just think it'd be badass. And kind of moving on. So, like I said before, if you brought in the Intercontinental Championship for the women's, you can have somebody new like Kiana James kind of go for it. You could have Shayna Baszler not have to jump show from show and be demoted, quote unquote demoted, because I feel like going to WWE NXT isn't really a demotion. But you could make Shayna Baszler a women's Intercontinental Champion, kind of keep her on that, on that same main event level, because you can essentially make the main event the World Championship and also the Intercontinental Championship. So honestly, Mandy Rose, maybe she didn't have to go back down to NXT. I know there's other reasons why she was released from the WWE. I can't really say it on air. If you don't know, you don't know. If you know, you know. But it would have been cool to kind of have an Intercontinental Championship match for her to kind of be that. And she could have definitely been a champion in her own way in terms of the Intercontinental Championship. So honestly, I think Mandy Rose would have been an awesome suitor for that. Also, Sonya Deville, her former tag team partner, the former I think it was Absolution, right? Absolution with Paige, bringing in Sonya Deville, also bringing in Mandy Rose. Bringing the heat, man, bringing the heat for sure. So, I thought that, I thought that would have been pretty cool to see Sonya Deville win that back in her day. During her time. Her time is now, and we are over at 9:00. And I apologize, but we're gonna go into overtime. I'm just kidding, though. I don't think I'm authorized to do that. But just kind of just reiterating and telling you guys that it would be pretty awesome if WWE had a Women's Intercontinental Championship. You could have superstars like you see on the screen, Nikki ASH. You could have Kairi Sane do good things. She was the first ever Mae Young Classic winner. You could also have Deonna Purrazzo, who's not with the WWE anymore, but she was very impressive. She wrestled a few matches on the main roster, ultimately released. And then also you could have Naomi. Naomi throughout WWE for the longest time has been underutilized like crazy. She's very talented. She has WWE Women's World Championship capabilities, and it's just kind of sick. It's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of silly how she's not in the main roster. And then also, you could have kept Ember Moon. You could have kept Sasha Banks. You could have kept Toni Storm, the timeless Toni Storm, who moved on to other companies. If you would have had like a secondary world, kind of like a main event title. And next, also Natalia. Natalia, maybe she didn't have to go back to NXT. Maybe she could have represented the Hart Foundation as the WWE Women's Intercontinental Champion. Honestly, I would have loved it. I would have loved it 110%. So, if WWE brings in the Intercontinental Championship, a couple of people that come to mind that could definitely hold the championship very well, I think of Lyra Valkyrie. Lyra Valkyrie recently got drafted to the WWE Raw, so I don't know. I think it'd be pretty awesome and beneficial if she does it that way. So, and also you have Blair Davenport. Blair Davenport made it to the WWE. She made it from the independent wrestling scene, made it up to the big leagues, and I think it'd be pretty cool. And like mentioned before, we have basically these new superstars that come up, and then they're going to be looking for something to do, going to need something to conquer, going to need a title that's not the high end title. But like I said before, intercontinental champions aren't nothing to throw bull spit over. So also Candice LeRae, maybe Candice LeRae could have been utilized in WWE more as soon as she got called up if they had a WWE Intercontinental Women's Champion. Like I said, this thing is just so. It's just so absolutely can give these girls, every single one of these girls on the roster, an opportunity to showcase their skills, to be larger than life, and kind of be in the same boat as the men's Intercontinental Championship. If the men's have it, why not the women? Indy Hartwell could have been great. Obviously, you kind of have Damage Control, Dakota Kai. I think eventually she will be booted out of Damage Control, leaving the Kabuki Warriors and Asuka kind of being like their own, kind of entity. Asuka could also challenge for it. Also, you have wasted talents like Zelina Vega, the LWO on Raw. She got drafted to Raw. Definitely could be a women's superstar that can hold the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship with pride. Represented well. Also, Zoe Stark. Zoe Stark has been on the main brand. She did her little stint with Trish Stratus where she was like, thank you, Trish. Thank you, Trish, for being so awesome and disrespectful to Becky Lynch. And then ultimately, I don't know. I just feel like they get booked in these weird storylines, these trashy storylines, and everyone's supposed to just eat it up. But honestly, I don't want to eat it up. I want to see these. I want to see the Intercontinental Women's Championship. I want to see the Intercontinental Women's Championship. Tegan Nox, also another superstar that's absolutely crazy good. So, don't want to go don't want the idea of a women's intercontinental championship to be gone. So I don't know. I think it'd be a really good way to regulate the women's division more effectively. It wouldn't overshine the WWE World Women's Championship at all. It wouldn't take over its prestigiousness. I don't know. It would just stop. It would just stop putting wrestlers into tag teams. It would stop putting singles wrestlers into just squash matches or throwaway matches or like not even mid card matches. Like you wouldn't see Becky Lynch and Lita tag team. You wouldn't see you want to see Nia Jackson, Shayna Baszler, Alexa Bliss, and Nikki Cross because they're better off as single stars. Let the Kabuki Warriors be the Kabuki Warriors. Keep them toward that WWE World Women's Tag Team Division. Also, Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, Maxine Dupree and Ivy Nile, and Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. Honestly, I think adding a title to the WWE Women's Division would be so much good for these superstars, and it's just the title. It's just an Intercontinental Championship. It's not like we're making the biggest, craziest change in WWE history. Although it would be pretty historic, But like I said, I definitely something that's on my wish list. I would absolutely love to see these women kind of have an Intercontinental Championship title to kind of fight for. But who knows? So once again, hope you guys really like the show. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or any opinions, leave it at the GSMC podcast.net with the tips and donations link. So let's get on into it. So thank you for tuning into the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. So your support means a lot to us. So please remember to Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show and leave a positive review. We love the peace, love, and positivity at the GSMC Sports Network. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for more, and TikTok for more content and updates. If I haven't made you a wrestling fan by now, I urge you guys to watch the WWE. We also have a bunch of sports podcasts, football, baseball, basketball, you name it. I think recently we got a new hockey one, as well as golf, as well as soccer. It's just blown up. We also have our women's hoops and heels sports. It's going to be blown. We have the WWE, not WWE, sorry. uh, I'm into that WWE mode right now. You can't blame me because I am the host of the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast. So don't hate me because you ain't me. I'm just kidding. We have our WNBA preseason kicking off. Caitlin Clark, absolutely been a bombshell in the world of women's basketball, in the world of women's sports. Definitely, she's a revolutionary, part of the women's evolution in terms of sports. Congratulations. But, hope you guys liked my show. Thank you once again. See you guys on a beautiful Wednesday. So, hey, thank you.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to work. Let's go.